Today in the laboratory, except we're not in the laboratory, due to the fact that I'm working on a 6-foot tall figure. And I'll have to do it in the hallway at the moment because my lab is covered in animatronics that are taken apart, waiting for pieces to be located. Working on this thing. 6-foot tall Halloween monster. It's not working right. And I'm going to press the button so you can listen to this thing. And maybe you can help see what's not working. His heart works. His eyes move, or his eyelids.
From my laboratory in the castle east, the monster bedroom where the vampires feast, the ghouls all came from their humble abodes to get a jolt from my electrode. They did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It got on in a flash. They did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun.
So I'm going to stop it so it's not so noisy, since we already listened to him for, I don't know, 40 seconds or so. So anyway, his lip is moving, but it's not moving all the way down. It's just flickering, as you saw. It looks like it's bulging right in this area. His eyelids work, but his eyes aren't moving. His brain and his eyes aren't lighting up, which I believe they're supposed to, based on the picture on the box. But we know we do get light here. I'm not sure his arms are supposed to do anything. There is some hard mechanism in here. It could just be the mechanism to hold the arms so that way they don't just dangle like dead noodles. But there is a hard, you can see the outline when I push in on it. Same over here. This one's slightly different outline, but it's nice and hard plastic, soft, foam rubberish. And we know we have a problem with his head, but is the problem with his head all in the head, the motor part, or are we not getting power to control the motors or the servos for the eyes and the lights for the brain cap and the eyeballs? Because the head pops off. I get my finger back in here. A little close-up of his eye. There we go. Takes 2 hands. And voila. Plus, somebody else hooked this thing up to it. I have no idea what that's for. But it goes up inside the head. And then there's down inside his neck, where you got the pins, which then correspond with the pins on the head. So, those would be your power drivers. So I could be getting improper power from those pins, or one set, or I could have bad connection inside of his skull. So, we know it's not lighting up. We know his eyeballs aren't moving. We have functionality of the eyelid, a bad clicking sound on his lip, and his heart works. And that's it. I'll have to check to see if his shoulders work. I guess I'll read what the box says. Sings and talks. He's alive. His head, arms, and eyes move. Well, I guess we answered that question right there. His arms don't move. Lighted heartbeat and his glowing electric brain. I don't think you get that either. His chains rattle when his arms move, of course. So, yeah. Get some tools and figure out how to take this apart without breaking it worse than it already is. You can see that it's already got broken plastic. I'm also going to get a meter so I can test the power coming out of these ports. This runs on 9 volts DC. Plugs into the back of the unit on the bottom, right there. It's got options for volume, mic, aux, because you can make it talk if you plug a microphone into it. So, all right, get some stuff, get working on it, see what we can find out. All right, we got good power coming up. So there's the main pin, and then this pin in the back has multi-segments. You can see the signs. They have different voltages for each section, and they reverse polarity every once in a while. probably that's what turns the eyes back and forth.
From my laboratory in the castle east to the monster bedroom where the vampires feast, the ghouls all came.
It's a lot quieter without the head. But the top pin there to ground is averaging 3.7 volts. The second one down jumps between 0 and 4 1/4. The third one down, 4 to 5. And when it's not on the music, that one's 1 to 4, 1 to 3. So, and when it's not on the music track, it actually does reverse polarity. So I think that's the servos for the eyes, the one that reverses polarity. So we're getting good power to the head. We still don't have any movement of the arms. All you can hear the motors working. So I've got to figure out how to take off his clothes and look at the servo setup or the motors in here, and then work on his skull right there. We'll return. All right. Under his arms, he has access, and the reason his arms don't move is this, if you can see, try to, right there, is sheared off on both arms. See the broken plastic? So it attaches to his torso, and both sides are sheared. That's why you hear motors moving in here, because it's swinging this back and forth, but it's not attached to anything. So, yeah, it's got a little problem there. Next, let's turn off this light. On a different wall now. This I found inside his torso. This is coming out of his head. You can tell both of them have been installed aftermarket. This has 5 volts constant coming out of it. When I plug them together, nothing changes in his head. So, I'm going to have to trace what those wires do. What is unique about this system is this center pin, both here and in his neck, they're ground. On most of the center pins are usually hot. So if something hits the barrel, it doesn't arc. So, I'm going to have to give him a lobotomy. That's next. Welcome to my makeshift workbench. Well, my normal workbench is covered with parts that I can't lose. So I'm working on the counter. Need to take this out. I've already prepped it. It had one screw holding it in. There should be a whole bunch around the flange, which is broke. But somebody had glued it. If you can see the glue and some of the latex, the mask. I used the dullest knife I own, which is the one I always carry. So, and I was able to get most of the glue to break off so we can get inside. I'm thinking the reason it's glued, and it's probably not glued factory, is because the flange kept breaking and they lost all the screws, except for one. Because I don't think these are factory wire splices. They could be. I mean, I've never opened one like this before. But here's the jaw, of course. Here's the jaw mechanism right here. See where my fingers flicking on the outside, right there. So we need to get the jaw out. Now I have opened similar items in the past, and these are the screws that come in from back here. You actually have to peel this mask off as carefully as you can. And here's the ports real fast. Make life easy, or it's not going to be easy. Apparently I didn't get all the glue. Here we go. I'm going to unscrew these ports. Don't have to unscrew that one all the way. Looks like they glued these in too, probably because they're brittle. The reason I'm doing this is so I can move this piece of plastic and it's not bouncing all over the place, getting in my way or the way of the camera. I don't have the screws through the flange of the port. I just have the screws holding it with the edge of the screw. There we go. So let's get those out of the way. There is a way to hold these in without using a super glue type glue. You can actually use Elmer's white glue, fill the holes, and then screw the screws in. Because like that one's cracked. That was the one that came out easy because it's already cracked. That's the one that made the cracking sound because there's glue. You can see the glue residue right here on the edge. This allows me to work on it without having a heavy plastic piece bouncing around in my way. And there's the first set of screw holes. The ones on the top of the head are going to be difficult. Probably going to have to remove the glued on. Yeah, that's all just glued on. This guy's going to need a full disassembly. But unless let's at least get the mask peeled up enough, I can get to these screws and carefully try and remove all this. It's not glued all the way around, it's just tacked in certain spots. Like that. And I'm assuming this is probably not factory either, because it feels really brittle. That's probably factory glue right there. It's not stuck on, and it's yeah. This now, because where we live, the climate's hot, they probably didn't use anything hot glue because it would just melt. Yeah, there's two types of glue. Got this hard stuff, it chips off. You got this spongy stuff in between. Now we need to remove the plastic protective cover for the brain, which is pretty well separated for a spot in the back and the side. Thinking this is probably a super glue because it's really tough. Alright, maybe I can just slide his brain off, or the brain cap off to the side. I might be able to get into the screw hole. There we go. Start with this one up here because it appears to be the hardest. Get the entire mask off. screws. The other one's still on its hole. Alright. Apparently, there's some glue right here on its cheek. There. Not on that side. And we now know why it's clicking. Peel his face off. You can see that. That's the thing that moves his jaw. It's broke. Here's some of the plastic. That ain't the stuff nightmares are made out of. Alright, let's open the rest of his head. Out. There you go. There's the mechanism. And this might be the reason why part of it doesn't work. We got a disconnected wire from something. Which is the lights. It goes up in here. So where does this guy connect? Let's see. It looks like the brown wire is the ground with the resistor, and the red wire is the hot, is what I'm going to assume. And I bet you this was soldered right there, since that's clear, not covered in all the glues. So that's why his lights don't work. The barrel jack did his jaw, and then the multi-jack apparently runs his eyes, and that's it. Yeah, we have two sets of wires that go to two different motors. One here, which is what makes his eyes move back and forth. So now we need to remove this assembly to see if we can fix the jaw. Now we have a piece of plastic right here that's snapped off, so it pivots, and it's probably that big loud clacking as that. This standoff is broke free right here. It's not holding anything anymore. This one's chipped. So I think the reason the jaw is clacking is this is moving back and forth, which there's also a broken chunk of plastic right there, and it's bouncing off of this piece. I just don't know where that jaw piece is supposed to attach. Unless it just slid underneath like this. Which is possible because we got grooves right there. So I bet you this just slid in, and because that piece is broke, the loud clacking is this jumping on the spindle or the armature of the motor, causing this to clack against this hard plastic. So now we need to see if we can find a part to fix it, and then solder the light back on. So I'm gonna go see if I have another mechanism. I might, but I don't know if it's any good. Alright, we'll continue. Alright, I soldered the wire back on. Let's see. As far as the head goes, unfortunately, I've not been able to find any replacement parts. I was pointed in the right direction, but nothing panned out with this brittle plastic. I believe I got the eyes to work. I'm going to have to reassemble the head and plug it in, find out, or at least plug it in right there, which I might do before I put the head back together. The light should work, so I'm going to go get the body and test it all out before we reskin this guy and put him back together. As far as the mouth goes, we're going to leave that component out. It goes in here, which goes, of course, on these screws. Because I'm still going to try and find the part or be able to make one out of 3D, in which case I can take the head back off and then replace it. So I'm going to go get the torso, and we're going to see if we can test out some lighting and test out the eyeballs. Shall return. Alright, I have it in the kitchen so I can work on it. There's the brain part plugged in. There's his head. Now let's turn it on. So the brain lights work. Nothing on the eyes. Oh, there we go. Alright, so yeah, the only thing up here is the motion for his eyeballs. Let's try it again.
From my laboratory in the castle east to the master bedroom where the vampires feast.
So, there's something broken inside of this gearbox.
Get a jolt.
Turn it back off and unplug his neck. So, a lot harder with one hand. So, we're going to have to open this gearbox and see if we can fix this to make his eyes move back and forth correctly. And then I found out from checking with a guy who works on these, this collar apparently is supposed to rotate. And I'm sure the parts inside here are broke. You got to remove that screw, and then there's 4 screws. And they sold rebuild kits. He actually sent me in a direction of a place that carries rebuild kits for this. So let's unplug his brain so I don't tear the wires out of it. Here we go. So yeah, pretty basic. But I'll put the link for the information down below. If you have one of these or something similar, maybe get some assistance from him as well, and a link to a place to sell some parts for these big old Gemmy figures. Alright, next up, tear apart the box and see what we can do. Alright, the skull is basically back together. I got his brain in, and his wires are just hanging out so I can plug them in. Here we go. There's the eyes. So turn it off, and then we're going to pan over here. And the reason his eyes didn't work is it might be hard to see, but that little guy right there is cracked. It's the same gear if you watch all the Leemax videos. That seems to break quite often. So there it is. That's the reason his eyes didn't work. So now, reskin the head, get it back together, because we're not going to do anything with the mouth at this moment. So we're going to leave this open and see if I can make or repair the broken bar on the mouth. And if not, maybe see if I can find somebody that can 3D print it. As far as the parts inside that move right in there, we're just going to leave that for now until they come in, because that's accessible without taking the head apart. So be back once it's fully assembled. All right, he is back together. Heart works, head works, eyes work. The noise you hear right now is him supposed to be moving his head back and forth, but unfortunately that part down inside of his neck wasn't taken apart. If the owner of this wants the parts ordered, I can get them, and then we can do a second part on this video. So as of now, we got a couple of the issues fixed. We got his eyes fixed and his head fixed, his brain. As far as the jaw, let's see what we can do about that, and the neck. So 50% of it's been repaired for no cost. There's no parts needed. It's just stuff I already had lying around. So to fix the twisting neck and to fix the jaw, either going to have to find parts, buy parts, or make parts. So thanks for watching. Probably our first ever only cell phone based video. Of course, filmed in both landscape and portrait. So it's going to drive you all nuts. Enjoy.